Alright, this is Joe Imbriano, and this is just a little addendum to the live stream I did this morning. You know, we had a situation where this is New Year's Eve. This gentleman's name was Craig Gentilla, and he's a pastor, and he was found unresponsive in the middle of a ski run at Sierra at Tahoe. Another one of these sudden cardiac arrests, folks. Guy's 53 years old, father of 4. You see this? You see the location of the cell tower. It's right next to the resort, right next to the lifts, right next to the run where the beginners go, folks. Okay? All right? You can see right here. I'm sorry, but okay, right there is the tower, and right there's the beginner run, which is where he was. 53 years old, dead from a ski trip, okay? This guy did not, he didn't look like a heart attack candidate to me, but then again, who does, right? And then we got a situation, December 30th, you know, New Year's weekend. What were they doing? Spraying cocaine out of the chemtrails? I mean, come on, right? We got 2 people at the Keystone Resort. I believe this is in Colorado. Right? Recent death of 2 Keystone skiers are a reminder of heart attack risks at altitude. This past week, 2 tragedies took place within days of each other at Keystone Resort. Arvada resident Danielle Mares, age 53, and Silverthorne resident Durwood Marshall, age 66, died at Keystone while skiing during Christmas holiday weekend. Both cases, the Summit County coroner, Reagan Wood, determined that cardiac issues were the proximate cause of death. Folks, we know that when you go up high and the air's thin, there's issues with the heart. There's low air density, that means less oxygen reaching the brain, and they call it hypobaric hypoxia. This affects everything from cognitive function to balance and control, which can be deadly. Folks, like I said, you know, this one really worries me because two went. This is not the best way to, okay, right there is the resort, and these are cell towers, folks. That's the Keystone Resort, and these are the ski runs right here. That's the resort. Bingo, 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 bingo. The whole thing's full of cell towers. 2 guys died on the Christmas holiday at this one resort, folks. All right? That's right. 2 of them. You know, what's that? 3 people having heart attacks at ski resorts over a Christmas holiday, New Year's weekend, right? I'm not okay with this, ladies and gentlemen. Rouleau formations. I'm going to talk about how the blood chemistry changes. Microwaves affect the blood chemistry, folks. You know, it's not good to have sticky blood when you're up at a high altitude. We know that rouleau formations occur after exposure to microwaves. We know that, you know, 2 people dropped dead up at this resort in Colorado over, you know, the New Year's weekend. We know that the cell towers are right there at the resort. Literally, there's the resort right there. There's the cell tower. These are the ski lifts. Look at this. The Devil's Triangle. You take your life into your hands when you go to these places, folks. The overall observed effects on the blood from short-term exposure to cell phone radiation for both the carrying condition and active use condition. The observed changes are substantial in magnitude. For the carrying condition, red blood cell aggregates dominate, while red blood cell shape changes are fewer. For the active condition, the red blood cell shape changes dominate, and the red blood cell aggregates, while present, are somewhat less pronounced. So the conclusions are that they show that there are substantial changes in the blood from short-term cell phone radiation exposure in 9 out of 10 human subjects. Aggregation and stickiness were mainly observed following 45 minutes of exposure to smartphone in receiving mode worn by subjects in a backpack. Okay, By contrast, red blood cell morphological shape changes, including the formation of echinocytes, spiky cells, were dominant after subjects actively used the phone for an additional 45 minutes. It appears that red blood cell stickiness with clumping is the first stage of the cell phone radiation effect. Clumping, folks. High altitude, thin blood, and clumping. No bueno, right? No low air. There's no air up there, right? You don't want clumpy blood when there's no air, right? It appears that the stickiness is the first stage. The subsequent red blood cell aggregates tend to break apart. Then cell shape changes occur in which echinocytes and other misshapen cells are observed. Blood morphologies, clumping and misshapen cells are frequently observed in ill persons and those eating less than optimal diets. You know, we know that this stuff affects the blood, folks. I don't need to make it any more obvious than it already is. Watch the stream. All right, ladies and gentlemen, this is Joe Imbriano, the Fullerton Informer. We're coming to you live Monday morning from the streets of sunny Southern California. That's right, folks. We're rolling right now live on the backup channel to the FullertonInformer.com. PO Box 4121, Fullerton, California 92834. On the web at WiFiDangers.com, 5GDangers.com, CellTowerDangers.com, the FullertonInformer.com. My email is joeimbriano777@gmail.com, ladies and gentlemen. All right, so this is kind of an addendum to the video I did last week on the young gal that I believe was electrocuted by her ski wear and by her sporting goods and the transmission tower that she spent an inordinate amount of time near. You know, a lot of you have asked me a question about, hey, well, wait a minute, what about all these other people? You know, how come it doesn't happen to them, right? Well, you know, there's no such thing as a stupid question, folks. But if you watch that video I did, I talked about an incident that involved my son up at Mount Palomar. And of all the kids that were up there, he was the only one that was affected by this stuff. Now, it affects people differently. I know people that smoked Winston and Pall Malls and drank Jack Daniels for breakfast, and they lived to be 80, 90 years old, right? Doesn't affect them, right? No lung cancer. They end up dying of something else, right? Then I know people who don't smoke and they get lung cancer, right? People are different. They have different sensitivities, folks. But I will tell you that in Colorado, at a ski resort up there, 2 people died over the New Year's weekend of sudden cardiac arrest. And there was another ski resort death, a pastor, I think he was like 53 years old, 4 kids left behind. Sudden cardiac arrest, just dropped dead. Both of these incidents involve resorts that were littered with cell towers, folks. Now, let's talk about this. Let's talk about this. What do microwaves do? What do radio frequencies do to human beings? Well, aside from how they sterilize school children in the present application and deployment in the public schools and the private schools, that's right, the Wi-Fi and the Wi-Fi enabled devices in the laps of the children are sterilizing the children. Go to WiFiDangers.com if you don't believe me. Rouleau formations are common in the presence of electromagnetic fields, folks, and your blood is supposed to flow. It's not supposed to have blood cells that stack on top of each other and start seizing everything up, right? When you get into these high altitudes, you know, if you're not used to it and you're not in the best of shape, your body works really hard to distribute oxygen to the tissues because there's not enough of it in the air because you're not used to it. The higher you go, the thinner the air gets. You know, you get up in some of these ski resorts, that air is pretty darn thin, so it's quite a load. Your body is under a little bit of a stress factor there. But if you're in the presence of these electromagnetic fields, such as television broadcast and microwave systems, WiMAX systems, and even some of these point-to-point millimeter wave communication systems. And then you factor in the conductive clothing, and you understand how these radio frequency fields affect blood chemistry. Of course, people are going to go into sudden cardiac arrest. Now, I want to tell you something, ladies and gentlemen. I grew up in a town called Garden Grove, California, working class city. All the parents on my street, with the exception of my mom and dad, were alcoholics, and all their kids got into drugs. And I grew up around a lot of kids that did a lot of drugs. And I used to hang around a lot of kids that did all the drugs, folks, and I didn't do them. Okay, I never went there. I never felt the need, right? I was always at the beach, you know, enjoying the sun and going fishing, riding my bike. I never got into the dark side when I was young. But I know people who used to smoke crack and go up to Big Bear, go up to the mountains, go skiing, and do tons of cocaine. That's right. And they'd end up on the side of the road in their car surrounded by tequila bottles at 10 o'clock in the morning when the snowplow was honking at them, right? These people were up there doing blow, packing their nose, smoking the crack pipe. They never had heart attacks, folks. People were not having sudden cardiac arrest before these towers were littering the landscape at these elevations, ladies and gentlemen. That's my point. Well, we know that these high altitudes put an undue load on the cardiovascular system. But what about all these people throughout all these years who were overstimulating literally and were up there having the literal time of their lives? Right? They didn't seize up. They didn't seize up like a big block with a bad oil pump, folks. They managed to self-medicate to the point where they come down off those mountains with bottles in their car, right? They didn't end up on a stretcher in the back of one of these $1,000 a mile ambulance rides. No. What's going on is the microwaves and the millimeter waves are electromagnetic fields, ladies and gentlemen. And your heart is electromagnetic. It runs on electrical fields, ladies and gentlemen. And I think a lot of what we've been taught, even about the heart, is an oversimplification. We've been taught that the heart is a pump. It is a lot more than a pump, ladies and gentlemen. It is a source of electrons. It is a source of electrical energy for the blood, okay? So when you have people that are wearing these highly conductive ski clothes, when I say highly conductive, I'm not kidding. I mean, there are some of these outfits, they cost you a couple grand, and they'll take a lithium-ion battery, and these highly conductive fibers actually heat up like a literal electric blanket. You don't think these highly conductive fullerene compounds, these carbon nanotubes infused into these polyester and rayon resins in these outfits are not picking up the charge in the air coming from these towers? Of course they are. So what you've got is you've got human beings becoming literal walking capacitors, and in some cases, ladies and gentlemen, what we've got is the moment they discharge is the moment they're discharged from this earth. Yep. Look, folks, it's not just the towers. It's a combination, it's a conflagration of events unfolding on the unbeknownst and unknowing, unbeknownst to these people who are visiting these locations. These ski resorts have cell towers right next to them, and they're direct line of sight with the lifts, okay? And when these people are riding these lifts, they're getting charged up. It doesn't affect everybody. When my son was in Mount Palomar, he was the only one that went into cardiac arrest, even though they didn't realize that's what it was. I don't know, there's 40, 50, 100 kids up there. Not everybody's sensitive to this stuff. Not everybody gets colon cancer from drinking Jack Daniels for breakfast and lung cancer from smoking Pall Malls the minute they wake up. I know people that live their whole lives smoking and drinking their breakfast and their lunch and their dinner. I grew up around these people. That's right. But one death is one too many, folks. And, you know, we're batting 1,000 here. You know, you got these people dropping like flies at these ski resorts, and no one's talking about this stuff, all right? This is a problem, ladies and gentlemen. You know, the school district scum doesn't want to talk about how the kids are getting sterilized by the Wi-Fi and the iPads, right? By the infertility pads on their laps. I mean, go to wifidangers.com, okay? And by the way, if any of you are out there and you're looking for a way to make some money, get into the field of fertility treatments, ladies and gentlemen, because nobody is getting pregnant. That's right. These people that finally have gotten the financial resources and the careers in line to start a family cannot do so. Why? Why is it, folks? Because the weaponry has been deployed by the lackeys in the school district and the servile minions that go along with what's being done to the children. Well, I'll tell you right now, you ain't seen nothing yet, because wait till they really turn up the power on these towers, right? They haven't done that yet. We haven't reached the desired power level of these psychotic freaks that put this stuff everywhere. That's right. That's right. So why are these young people having heart attacks? Well, like I said, folks, like I said, why are these young people having heart attacks? I don't know. How come 18 and 19-year-olds are having heart attacks, folks? Well, think about it for just a minute. Like I said, you know, I grew up in a working class neighborhood where everybody's parents were alcoholics. They all smoked, they all drank, and their kids all smoked and drank, and they did worse, okay? And I grew up in a neighborhood where they used to smoke pot out of gas masks, and, you know, they used to snort heroin and cocaine in the neighbor's garage. That's right, that's what they would do. That they would go in the garage was the 8-ball flag flying every day, right? These guys would be up all night staring at a test pattern in their recliners, you know, jacked up on blow and, you know, smoking their brains out with the chronic, right? But I knew people that that would smoke the crack pipe and go to the ski slopes, folks. And these guys were 18, 19, 20 years old, you know, and they'd stay up for 2-3 days, you know, drinking tequila. They didn't have heart attacks, ladies and gentlemen. Because they didn't have the electromagnetic trigger to make them check out. Okay? These towers are weapons, ladies and gentlemen. They don't need this many towers to run the infrastructure for communications. They need this many towers to run their eugenics agenda and to control everything so they can make the planes fall out of the sky and the power plants shut down and the refrigeration units at the grocery stores blow up and entire tracts of houses explode. That's right, folks, because all this wireless technology is not only a kill grid, it's a control mechanism that has been put in place by people that seek us harm. Okay? That's it. So you got to question why they want to put these towers everywhere. Why, folks? Why is that? And why is it that so many people have AFib and, you know, arrhythmia? And why are young people dropping like flies? Well, all these young girls that are dropping like flies, you know, they're living in these chic apartments with all these gadgets and all these conductive clothing, and they're all mineral deficient because of their anorexia. But here's the thing, folks. We've had anorexic young people doing drugs forever. Your brain and your spinal cord are basically an electrical system, folks. And you know, if you want to turn your clothing wardrobe into a series of capacitors, looking for its most opportune moment to go to ground and discharge, you just may get discharged yourself. That's right. That's right, ladies and gentlemen. We need to reject what they're rolling out. We need to reject them from forcing this into our homes. And you need to take steps on the level that we live. Right, folks? Where the rubber meets the road for you and I. We're the ones that are going to plug this stuff in our house. We're the ones that are going to allow these guys on the yellow vests on our property to put this stuff on the poles. We're the ones that are going to go up those mountains and wear these fullerene infested jackets, right? Right? Hey, you like that sunscreen? You like those metallic nano compounds that are getting absorbed into your skin that are creating voltage discharges when they come in contact with the radio frequency emissions, whether it be from the Hollywood Hills transmission array for the television signals, whether it be the cell towers, whether it be the point-to-point communication systems that you just unfortunately walk right into when you're in a specific spot in town. Folks, you got to hear me on this. We've got big problems, but we got easy solutions to some of this stuff, folks. We got easy solutions, but the problem is you have to be willing and you have to have your eyes open. All right? So that's it for today. This is just a follow-up to that video I did on that young gal. And, you know, there's young girls dying in their apartments. There's young guys dropping dead. Not everybody's overdosing from drugs. Do you know how many kids I knew growing up that were all on cocaine, riding ninjas, staying up all night, doing 100 miles an hour, doing wheelies on the freeway? Okay? These guys, they, like I said, you know, they'd be walking around barefoot in swim trunks in the middle of winter, smoking crack with the Brillo pad and the glass pipe, you know, sweating bullets, jacked up, slamming their hands and fists on the countertop. And these are the same guys that went skiing and stayed up for 2-3 days up in the mountains. They didn't have heart attacks, folks. They didn't have heart attacks because we didn't have cell towers that put everything over the edge. That's right. Okay? Oh, yeah, and all these guys were smoking Pall Malls and menthols and cloves. I mean, these guys that smoke crack, they smoke cloves. They'd smoke pot, they'd drink the hard stuff, they'd step for 2-3 days, they were 20 years old, they'd go skiing, they'd go down the slopes, they'd hang out all night in the bars. They're still alive! You got these young girls that don't even smoke or drink and they're going up there and they're coming back in a body bag. Why? Like I said, folks, the altitude affects the oxygen concentration in the blood. The body overcompensates by trying to deliver oxygen. You know, it puts a load on the cardiovascular system. Then you have the millimeter and microwaves forming rouleau formations in the blood, basically stacking the platelets, right? Sticky blood. Sticky blood doesn't flow good, folks. You don't put gear oil in your crankcase in your BMW, okay? It'll seize up. And then if you compound things by making yourself into a human capacitor with your fullerene infested ski clothing, where you're picking up all this voltage, and as soon as that spike hits that ground, zzz. I'm just saying. This is Joe Imbriano, Fullerton Informer, PO Box 4121, Fullerton, California 92834. Coming to you live on the backup channel, folks. The Fullerton Informer backup channel, WIKIJOE. We welcome you to the fray, folks, and we hope you'll share this video far and wide. And knowledge is power, folks, and they're trying to make it into a situation where we have neither, folks, and guess what? We got it all. God bless all of you. Maybe back at you tonight. See you later.